so let's look at the problem that we have on the screen here. It says evaluate f of x equals 3x to the fourth minus 2x cubed plus 6x minus 7 at the given points. And we're supposed to evaluate it at -1 and 3. So we know how to do this. All we need to do is take -1 for the first problem and plug it in for x in each x in our equation. So f of -1 will be equal to 3. We'll plug in a -1 for our x. So 3 times -1 to the fourth minus 2 times -1 to the third plus 6 times -1 minus 7. And now we'll just evaluate it. So -1 to the fourth is -1 times -1 times -1 times -1, which ends up being +1. So that'll be 3 times 1. Minus 2 times -1 cubed will end up being -1. 6 times -1, we know it will be a -6, and then we'll have a -7. So we end up with 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 times -1 will be +2, then -6 minus 7, and this all ends up being 3 plus 2 minus 6 minus 7 is -8. Okay, well let's look at this next one here. This one tells us to evaluate f of 3. So we'll just do the same thing. So wherever we have an x, we'll plug a 3 in. So we end up with 3 times 3 to the fourth minus 2 times 3 to the third plus 6 times 3 minus 7, and we'll just evaluate it. So 3 to the fourth is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So we have 3 times 81 minus 2. 3 to the third is 27. 2 times 27. 6 times 3, we can go ahead and do that, is 18, and then minus 7. So after that, that is 3 times 81 ends up being 243, minus 2 times 27, ends up being 54, plus 18 minus 7. And when you go ahead and add and subtract all of these numbers together, it ends up being 200. So this number is a lot larger than our -1, when we evaluated at -1. And you can see there's a lot of room for mistakes to be made during that. So since we learned synthetic division yesterday, we can actually use that to solve these sorts of problems. So let's go ahead and solve these problems, but use synthetic division this time. So let's go ahead and redo the first one. There we go. So using synthetic division, we're going to need to take our equation here. Let me see, can I get it from here? No? Okay, we're going to need to take, there we go. Oh, it took that, okay. Hey, there we go. There we go. Mr. Lade was able to help me out there. So now let's go ahead and try this. We're going to need to take our coefficients here. So we have 3x to the fourth, a 2 on our x cubed. We don't have an x squared term, so we're going to plug a 0 in for that. Then we'll have our 6 on our x and our 7 on our constant term. So we'll have 3 from the x to the fourth, -2 from our x cubed. We don't have that x squared term, so we have to put a 0 in. 6 from our x and -7 for our constant term. And now we can take our -1 that we tried earlier, since that's what we're trying to find, and put it in our box from last time. So this looks like synthetic division, but this method of solving these sorts of equations is called synthetic substitution. but it works exactly the same way as synthetic division. So we'll drop our 3 down. We don't multiply yet. So drop the 3 down. Now we'll take -1 times 3, which is -3. We add our terms together, so -2 minus 3 is -5. -1 times -5 is +5, and then 0 plus 5 is still +5. We'll take -1 and multiply it by 5 to get -5. 6 plus -5 is 1. Then we'll take -1 times +1 to get -1. And then -7 minus 1 is -8. And what do you notice about this -8 right here? That's what we got when we plugged in our -1, for all our x's before. So this -8 and this -8 over here match. So we can use this method of synthetic substitution to find the value at that given point, and that value will be the remainder. So if you remember from yesterday, the term on our far right is the remainder. So this -8 is going to be the solution. And we got that by using synthetic substitution instead of just plugging it in for our x's. Let's go ahead and try this with the next problem. So this time we have the exact same setup because we have the exact same coefficients. So we'll have 3, -2, 0, 6, -7. But this time, instead of plugging in a -1, we'll plug in our 3. So we have 3 over here. We'll draw our line. And then we'll drop the first coefficient. We never multiply by the first coefficient. And now we go to work. So 3 times 3, we know is 9. -2 plus 9 is going to end up being 7. 3 times 7 is 21. 0 plus 21, that's still 21. 3 times 21 is 63. 63 plus 6 plus 63, I should have said it that way, is 69. And 3 times 69 is 207. And -7 plus 207 is 200. Since that's the number on our far right, this is our remainder. And that means that this is the answer. So in this instance, we would get f of 3 equals 200. And that matches with what we got over here. So this is another way to evaluate these sorts of problems. In some ways, it's a lot nicer because you don't have to worry about taking a number to a lot of different powers. You can just multiply and add/subtract as necessary. It keeps things a lot simpler as a whole. So I would recommend doing this, and you'll have to do it on your homework assignment. But yeah,